Welcome back up to ladies and gentlemen to another Fun Friday episode in this Pokémon TCG Online series. On Fun Friday I play around with silly and fun deck ideas, and today I bring you a very silly deck idea. It is a Porygon-Z deck. About a week or so ago I was scrolling through my recommended videos on YouTube and I saw this video with the following title. Let me read it real quick here. Nasty Porygon-Z Mega Alakazam deck, crazy build, control the entire game, exclamation mark. From Dark Integral Gaming, the Pokemon YouTuber, which some of you might be familiar with. So I took the bait there. I clicked the clickbait title because I'm a Magikarp, I'm a fish, that's what I do, I take bait. And I watched the video and I must say I was pretty intrigued by the idea behind that deck from Dark Integral Gaming. So I decided, inspired by his video, to make my own Porygon-Z deck. However, my deck is actually pretty much very different from his deck idea because my strategy is completely different. We are going to try to mill our opponent to deck him out and take games that way. So despite this deck playing very similar cards, the strategy is entirely different, and that's very important to keep in mind if you are familiar with the Porygon-Z deck from Dark Integral Gaming. So Porygon-Z is a colorless type Pokemon with 130 HP, a stage 2 with the Theta Stop ability, prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to this Pokemon, meaning that things like the giant water shuriken cannot hit this Porygon-Z. So Greninja Break will need to hit our Porygon-Z twice if it wants to KO our Porygon-Z. And he also has 2 attacks, Digital Reboot for a colorless energy, hits for 0 damage, Bupkis damage, and we do get to devolve as many of our bench Pokemon as many times as we like, and then put each evolution card removed this way into our hands. We also have the Dazzle Blast attack for a DCE, we do 50, and we confuse our opponent's active Pokemon. This Porygon-Z does have a 2 retreat cost and a fighting weakness, which is pretty important to remember. So we here today are going to focus almost exclusively on the digital reboot attack. We are going to devolve our Pokemon over and over until we deck out my opponents. And why are we going to do that? Why are we going to devolve our Pokemon? Because we are playing a Crawdaunt and the Milotic, and these Pokemon have very interesting abilities when you evolve them into their stage 1s or into their selves here. If you evolve into Crawdaunt, you get to discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon thanks to the Unruly Claw ability. And if you evolve from a Feebas into a Milotic, you may put a card from your discard pile into your hands thanks to the Sparkling Ripples ability. We are going to make use of these abilities to deck out my opponent, mainly of the Sparkling Ripples ability, because if we evolve into Milotic, we can grab cards like the Team Rocket's Handiwork from our discard pile. Team Rocket's Handiwork makes us flip 2 coins for each head, discards 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. So we are going to use this card as much as we can to discard cards from our opponent's deck and hopefully deck him out if we can flip heads, because that's a big if. Sometimes you will flip 2 tails and then this card was pretty much useless. If that is the case, we might actually just want to go for the Trick Shovel instead. We could evolve into Milotic, use the Sparkling Ripples and grab a Trick Shovel from our discard pile. Look at the top card of either player's deck. You may discard a card or return it to the top of the deck. Oftentimes we will look at my opponent's deck, and if we see something like a DCE or something, we will decide to discard that card. We can reuse this Trick Shovel over and over in the same turn even. For example, if we have 3 Feebas on our bench and 3 Milotic in our hands, we can evolve from a Feebas into a Milotic, grab a Trick Shovel from the discard pile, use it, then evolve into our second Milotic, grab the Trick Shovel again, discard a card, and then evolve into our third Milotic, grab the Trick Shovel again, and discard a third card, and just like that we have discarded 3 cards from my opponent's deck. Finally, we can also grab the Delinquent using the Sparkling Ripples ability from the Milotic. Delinquent allows us to discard 3 cards from our opponent's hands, discard 3 cards from our opponent's hand if there is a stadium in play. And in many games there will be a stadium in play, so not only does Delinquent allow us to discard cards from our opponent's hand, it also allows us to remove a stadium from play. Now, why is this Crawdaunt in his deck together with the Milotic, you may wonder here, because Crawdaunt does not really allow us to deck out my opponent or to help, or he does not really help with decking out our opponent, but what he does help with is with preventing our opponent from attacking, because he allows us to discard energies to our opponent's Pokemon. And if we do that, my opponent will need to find new energies to attach them to his Pokemon so that he can attack us and knock out our Pokemon. And that is exactly what we need to prevent here. We wanna prevent my opponent from attacking so that we can get our Porygon-Z in the active spot and keep it there forever and ever and ever. We do not want our Porygon-Z to go down ever if we can prevent it. And we are going to try to do that by using the Crawdaunt to discard energies to my opponent's active Pokemon, but also by using things like the Crushing Hammer to discard energies to Pokemon on the bench, because we can evolve into a Milotic and grab a Crushing Hammer from the discard pile, for example. Also, we can use the Team Fly Grunt if we do not have any Corphish in play to evolve into our Crawdaunt. We can instead use our Team Fly Grunt to discard an energy attached to my opponent's active Pokemon, or we can simply also use Xerosic if we are up against Night March, or maybe Vespiquen to discard DCEs, because we can use a Xerosic to discard DCEs to either the active Pokemon or a Pokemon on my opponent's bench. So we have lots of ways here to discard energies in play, and that is exactly what we want to do, because once again we want to keep our Porygon-Z alive in the active spot as long as we can, so that we can devolve our Pokemon as much as we can and use their abilities over and over until we deck out my opponent. Now, I do have some other cards in this deck to help us set up, besides the cards that help us deck out my opponent. We have 4 Sycamore and 2 N for draw support. That doesn't seem like a whole lot because we do not run Shaman, so you might have expected 4 N and 4 Sycamore for draw support. However, you do need to keep in mind here, we have Milotic in the deck, so what we can do is we can, if we start off with a Feebas and we find a Milotic as well as a Battle Compressor, we can simply Battle Compress 1 draw supporter from our deck, then evolve into our Milotic to grab that draw supporter from our discard pile and help us draw through our deck that way. And that is why I actually went with a 2-4 split here, not a 4-4 split between N and Sycamore, because we have a pretty good synergy between Milotic, Battle Compressor and our discard pile to grab our draw supporters. Another reason is simply because this deck does not have any more space for any more draw supporters, in my opinion. There's so many cards this deck needs. It needs cards to set up, it needs cards to discard cards, and it needs cards to discard energies, and that is a lot to ask from just one single deck. Now, I also have some other draw supporters, kinda. They're not really draw supporters, but they kinda help us to get out our Pokemon, and those cards are Brigette. Brigette allows us to search our deck for 3 basic Pokemon if they are not EX Pokemon, and we do not run any EX, so we are going to use Brigette at the start of the game to grab ourselves a Porygon, to grab ourselves a Feebas, and to grab ourselves a Corphish. Sometimes we will just grab 2 Feebas and no Corphish, sometimes we will just grab 2 Corphish and no Feebas. It just kind of depends on the deck that we are facing. If the deck plays lots of energies or can attach energies very quickly, we will grab the Corphish instead of the Feebas, for example. Then we also have Ultra Balls to grab our Milotics and to grab our Porygon-Z, and we have some level balls to look for our basics as well as our Crawdaunt here, because Crawdaunt has 90 HP or less. Well, no, not or less, has 90 HP, so we can search it out with the level ball, which allows us to search Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Then let's have a look at some more technical cards, which are not really helping us to execute our strategy, nor do they help us to draw through our deck, but they are still very important. For example, we have 1 Floatstone and also 1 Escape Rope. Escape Rope and Floatstone are here to help us switch between our Pokemon. We could see a Lysandre on a Crawdaunt, and if that's the case, we will want to use our Escape Rope to Escape Rope back into our Porygon-Z. Only 1 copy of each, because we have the Milotic with the Sparkling Ribbles to get them back from our discard pile. Most often we will look for our Escape Rope, since the Floatstone might be attached to one of our Pokemon. One question you might be wondering here is, how are we going to make sure we have this Escape Rope in our discard pile so we can get it with the Milotic? And the answer to that is Battle Compressor. 3 Battle Compressors, which is quite a lot, you might think, but Battle Compressor is super useful because it allows us to put things like the Escape Rope in our discard pile, as well as the Team Rocket's Handiwork and other important pieces like a draw supporter, so we can always get them back with Milotic. And that's why why I play a 3 Battle Compressor, a super high count, because it's got super duper synergy with our Milotic here. Then we also have one Hex Maniac. Hex Maniac does not allow us to draw through our deck, does not allow us to discard energies, does not allow us to discard cards from our opponent's deck. So why the heck is it in this deck? And the answer to that is to shut down Metalings and other annoying abilities like that. Maybe even Vileplume or Trevenant Break, so we can shut down the item lock from those decks. But mainly Metalings, since metal decks are actually one of the worst matchups we can be facing with this deck, since Metalings allows our opponents to continuously attach energy cards from the discard pile to their metal Pokemon, and that means my opponent can continuously knock out our Porygon-Z. We need to prevent that, so we need to grab our Hex Maniac each and every turn if we are up against a metal deck. So we'll need to use our Battle Compressor, discard the Hex Maniac, and every turn evolve into Milotic to grab the Hex Maniac from our discard pile and use it during our turn. That means we cannot use the Team Rocket's Handiwork, so we will need to rely on the Trick Shovel if you're up against metal decks to deck them out, since we cannot use a Team Rocket's Handiwork and a Hex Maniac in a very same turn. Finally, we also have one Super Rod here. Super Rod is actually way more important than you might possibly think at the moment, since it does not only allow us to shuffle cards back into our deck. We don't really need to do that, we don't really need to have the Super Rod for that, because we can always get things from our discard pile with the Milotic. But more importantly, Super Rod will prevent us from decking out ourselves. If we are close to the deck out, this is what we will do. We will try to get 2 Porygon-Z in play, one in the active spot, one on the bench. We will power up the Porygon-Z in the active spot with 2 energies, then retreat into the Porygon-Z on the bench. Make sure that Porygon has 1 energy attached to it as well, so we can always devolve our Pokemon. And then we will shuffle back the 2 energies using our Super Rod. We will start powering up our Porygon-Z in the active spot. So until it has 2 energies as well, then we'll retreat it, use our Super Rod again to shuffle those energies into our deck, and just like that, we should never deck out, because we will always have energies in our deck from discarding them by retreating between or switching between our Porygon-Zs. If that even makes sense, I'm not sure if I explained that all too well. If I did not, then just let me know in the comments and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. And then the last card that I have not discussed yet is the Skyfield. One Skyfield in this deck just to give ourselves a counter stadium to my opponent's stadium in addition to the Delinquent, so we can always get rid of a stadium in play, either using the Delinquent or countering the stadium with our Skyfield. And it is Skyfield because we have a lot of basic Pokemon. We have 3 Porygon, 3 Corphish and 4 Feebas, and ideally we want to get out 3 Feebas, 3 Corphish and 2 or 3 Porygon in a single game, so we need Skyfield to bench all of those basics. Now, before we end the deck analysis, I quickly want to mention something about the 6 fire energies that I'm playing. Why 6 fire energies and not water energies, or maybe even darkness energies, so we can attack with Crawdaunt in case of emergency situations? The reason for that is simple. I want to make use of my opponent's Scorched Earth Stadium if he plays that stadium, and that stadium allows us to discard a fire energy from our hand. If we do that, we draw into 2 extra cards, and we need all the draw support we can get with this deck, because one of the main issues, one of the main concerns with this deck is finding the right cards from this deck, is drawing through this deck, simply because we run 21 Pokemon, of which 11, and I'm not even kidding, 11 Pokemon are evolutions, are stage 1s or stage 2s, and those cards are dead cards in our starting hand if we start off with them, because we cannot use them until our second turn. That means on average we will start off with at least 1 dead card in our starting hand, which are pretty terrible odds. So consistency issues are a problem with this deck, but also we have some terrible matchups like the metal decks, as I said, but also decks that can reuse Hex Maniac over and over, because Hex Maniac shuts down our abilities from the Crawdaunt and a Milotic, and decks which feature Garbodor. Garbodor also shuts down our abilities. We need to use our Xerosic against Garbodor to discard a tool from the Garbodor, make sure Garbodor does not shut down our abilities, or we could Lysandre out Garbodor and hit for a Dazzle Blast twice on the Garbodor to knock it out, but that is not very easy to do. However, if you can get this deck going, and if you can get your luck going, this deck can control games so much, or so well, that it can just drive your opponent nuts. It is insane at times. There are some very bad matchups out there, but also some very good matchups. And even in some bad matchups, if you can get it going, if you can get that luck going, it is sometimes so powerful. It is insane. Anyways, I think it is time for me to show you how this deck can control an entire game rather than rambling on about it. So I'm going to dive into the versus ladder and find myself some opponents. Leave a like if you enjoy the silliness of this deck, if you enjoy the upcoming battles, it helps out the channel, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more silly deck ideas, and I'll see you in the battles in a moment. Our first opponent of the day is Makimos with a metal deck. No! Why metal? Why metal? Metal is such a bad matchup for us because of the metal links from the Bronzong. It is an awful matchup, Well, not that there are any really good matchups for this deck, but it is definitely a very, very bad matchup. Metal, one of the worst because of the metal links. And we start off with a terrible hand as well. Ooh, Scissor. Alright, it is Scissor. Can we take this game against Mega Scissor? If we can, then we will need to find a better hand first of all, if we want to be able to do that. This is one of the worst hands I've started off with so far, not gonna lie. It always happens when I press my recording button, I swear. Always when I press records, for some reason I get worse hands. Because I've been testing this deck, just against with the test button. You can test the deck with the test button, and then it pairs you up with the PTCGO AI, and the thing I test in those testings, in those test matchups, I just try to see how long it takes me to set up my Porygon, and I managed to do it pretty quickly. I did manage to do it pretty quickly during my testing rounds, but this is not going to allow us to do it pretty quickly. I think we have to discard Brigette, we have to discard Sycamore so we can draw through our deck, and we have to discard, oh, there's a Beldum. What do we really need? Do we need a Lysandre? Do we need a Hex Maniac? Doesn't seem to need a Hex Maniac at the moment, so I'm just going to discard one of my Team Rocket's handiwork for now. I could discard a Porygon maybe. Could always grab a Porygon with my... Maybe let's discard one Porygon. We have 3 Porygons, so let's go with this. And in the next turn, we will evolve into our Feebas if we stay alive, into our Milotic if we stay alive. We will grab Brigette, and we are going to Brigette for a Porygon, another Feebas, and Corphish. And we do see the Stadium from our opponent's Steel Shelter, and 10 damage from the Beldum. In the next turn, we'll get hit for 10 more, or possibly 30 from the spinning attack. There's another Feebas, fantastic. So we are going to evolve here. Actually, we'll stay alive because we will evolve. We have the escape rope to switch between our Pokemon, and let's grab our Brigette for the Porygon, the Feebas, and Corphish. It's tempting to go for 2 Corphish, but we only have 1 Crawdaunt in our hand at the moment, so we'll go for this. We will start powering up our Porygon, and we will end our turn. In the next turn, we can actually evolve into our Porygon2 already, and that is looking pretty good for us, because my opponent seems to have a very slow start, actually, which is fantastic. That's what we want to see, decks with slow starts. That gives us an optimal chance. A ram for 10 more damage. Yeah, my opponent is just ramming us all day, every day. We top deck a Brigette there. And let's discard that energy with our Crawdaunt. Let's first of all do that. Yes, we will gladly knock off that energy from the Beldum. Then we'll evolve into our Porygon2. And then we are going to Brigette again, might as well. I will also attach this energy, maybe. No, I won't. I'll keep it in my hand, possibly to retrieve a Pokemon. We are going to Brigette for another Corphish. No need for any more Feebas. And just like that, we are good to go. In the next turn, we will evolve into our Porygon-Z, and we are going to devolve our Milotic and our Crawdaunt. I'm going to grab myself Professor Sycamore and a Battle Compressor. There's an energy on the Beldum. Can we top deck maybe another Crawdaunt? That would be fantastic. A Ram for 10 more damage. Oh my goodness. We get a Porygon. Alright, let's evolve. Let's Escape Rope. We won't... do we attach the energy? Maybe we will actually. We could actually just threaten the knockout with the Porygon-Z. And maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. Well, we are playing Porygon-Z to mill, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to digital reboot, devolve my Milotic and devolve my Crawdaunt. It is a mill deck after all, so let's mill. Why the heck not? Let's not go for the knockout. And down goes the Feebas. Gives my opponent a prize because we devolved that Feebas, but it was definitely worth it because we need to grab ourselves a Sycamore in the next turn. And we can always see a Metagross come out just like that with a Rare Candy or something. So then the hit for the Dazzle Blast wouldn't have done too much of anything because my opponent would have gotten rid of the confusion there. Paint Roller is going to discard his own stadium. That's fine by me. That is definitely fine by me. And there is the Metang. We'll get hit for 30 damage. We will discard one of those energies with our Crawdaunt. And we want to find ourselves another Crawdaunt from the Sycamore that we are going to grab with the Milotic. 30 damage is not a knockout anytime soon. Metal Claw for 30. I might as well bench this Porygon. Get myself another Porygon ready. There we top deck an Ultra Ball, which is not useful at the moment. So let's evolve into our Crawdaunt. Discard that Metal Energy. We'll go for the Shield Energy. Discard the Special Energy. That cannot be Metalinked back onto any of his Pokemon. So we want to discard the Shield Energies first if my opponent does play Bronzong and can get it out at some point. And then let's evolve. Grab ourselves a Sycamore and Sycamore our hand away. It was about time here that we started drawing through our deck. Did we get a Rare Candy? And ooh, a Hammer. Don't mind if I do. Let's hammer away here. It is heads, look at that, it's fantastic. We even get a level ball. We can grab a Crawdaunt for the next turn. Maybe I should not have done that. Let's actually grab a Porygon-Z instead. Let's grab a Porygon-Z instead, because we won't need two Groudons at the moment. Then let's... a Porygon2 I meant, that's a Porygon2, not a Porygon-Z. Then let's discard the Evo Soda. Don't want to see my opponent evolve into a Metagross. And we are going to digital reboot. We even have the Team Rocket's handiwork for the next turn. That is very tempting here for me to use the Team Rocket's handiwork, and then I will get back a level ball with the Milotic, a level ball for, maybe not, I will get back an Ultra Ball for another Milotic. Make sure we have two Milotic in play. There is a Scissor for my opponent, he does find the Scissor. And a Max Elixir onto the Scissor. Maybe I will actually get my Hammer instead, my Crushing Hammer, try to get rid of the energy there. Yeah, well, we see another energy on the Scissor EX as well, and a switch. Oh my goodness, we are going to get knocked out here, and the Metagross comes out as well. That was a very nice hand from my opponents, not gonna lie, that was a fantastic hand right there. Let's see, we could promote the Porygon and grab an energy with our Milotic. And I think I will do that. I will promote the Porygon, evolve into the Porygon-Z with the Rare Candy. Oh, and we top deck the Milotic, that is fantastic. That is actually what we wanted to see there. Or maybe the Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt would have been nice as well. So let's evolve into our Crawdaunt. We are going to discard an energy attached to the Scissor. Then we will grab ourselves an energy with our Milotic, so we can devolve our Milotics. Where is our energy? There it is. And then we are going to Milotic for another Crawdaunt. That is what we are going to do here. Find ourselves another Crawdaunt. We are going to grab a level ball and then level ball for the Crawdaunt, and we are finally on our way here. This is how this deck is supposed to work. this is what this deck is all about. So let's discard that energy, and just like that we have discarded both energy that my opponent attached to his scissor in the previous turn. And then we are even going to hit for our Team Rocket's handiwork, play our Team Rocket's handiwork. It is a tails and a heads. We are discarding an energy retrieval and a fighting fury belt. That is good. Let's digital reboot and evolve all of our Pokemon. In the next turn, I will grab the Team Rocket's handiwork with the Milotic, and I will also grab probably a hammer if my opponent starts powering up the benched Metagross. Now we are going to grab a hammer. We will devolve our Crawdaunt as well, and then we are going to pause the turn. We do want to get, another Porygon on the bench if we can. 2 Porygons in a discard pile, so we need to get back a Porygon with one of our Milotics. There's a Spirit Link on the scissor. Do we see the Mega Scissor? Do we see an energy attachment? 5 energies in the discard pile. Magnetic Warp is going to switch into the Metagross. Okay. And we have to switch as well. I think. Yes. But for some reason we are not prompted to do that. It literally says here, if you do, your opponent switches his or her active Pokemon with one of his or her benched Pokemon. And it is our turn. Why is that? I'm not sure why we stayed in the active spot there. We will not evolve into our Crawdaunt. We are just simply going to evolve into our Milotic. Grab ourselves our Team Rocket's handiwork. And we are going to grab ourselves a Porygon as well. I could grab the Trick Shovel, but I want to get myself another Porygon on the bench. Make sure that if our Porygon-Z gets knocked out, we can get another Porygon-Z in the active spot. Then we are going to Team Rocket's handiwork and devolve our Milotics. It is heads and a tails. Ooh, we discard an energy. Look at that. Digital reboot. Let's continue this. I wonder how long it's going to take before my opponent is going to concede. I'm not sure how long it is going to take here. And a pass of the turn to my opponent. What is in my opponent's discard pile? No VS Seekers, no Draw Supporters, 1 Skyla, 6 energies. That's what I like here, the energy count in my opponent's discard pile, and an energy to the Scissor EX. Well, we can Lysandre here, but I will try my luck first with a hammer. I'm going to grab myself a hammer from the discard pile. Yes, let's grab ourselves a hammer. Can we flip heads? If we do, I'm also going to grab my Team Rocket's handiwork, and yes, we flip heads. Look at that. Let's grab ourselves our Team Rocket's handiwork now. And that was just fantastic. That was fabulous. Then we'll also evolve into our Porygon2, and we are going to use our Team Rocket's handiwork. Slowly but surely, we are bringing my opponent closer to the deck out. It's a double tails this time, so no luck for us there. Let's devolve and continue our road to victory by decking out my opponent. It's going to take a while here. It is going to take a while, but it will happen eventually. It will definitely happen eventually. So we will click done. We are not going to devolve our Porygon2. There is no reason for us to do that. I could even grab a Porygon-Z in the next turn with a Milotic. But I kind of want to get my Trick Shovels going here. There is, what is that? An Ultra Ball is going to discard an Escape Rope and a Teammates. Alright. Grabs a Bronzor. Oh, that's a bummer. We don't want to see the Metal Links. So now we need to find our Hex Maniac. I might just Milotic for a Battle Compressor and then Battle Compress my Hex Maniac. Yes, we are going to Milotic for a Battle Compressor. Make sure the Hex Maniac is in our discard pile, if we even have it in our deck. Do we have it in our deck? Yes, we do. Alright, let's discard Hex Maniac. And we are going to keep it at that. We don't need to discard anything else at the moment. Actually, I will discard the Brigets. We don't really need the Brigets. Then we will Milotic again. Milotic for the Team Rocket's handiwork. Can we discard any Bronzongs? That is what we are looking to do here. Discard some Bronzongs. I'm going to keep the bursting balloon in my hand for now. Tails and heads. We discard a birch. Alright. Then let's devolve our Milotics. Let us devolve once more. So many devolutions here in this game. And we will press done. My opponent has 2 cards in hand. I wonder if any of those is a Bronzong. Yes, there is a Bronzong, so he is going to power up the Scizor EX. He is going to power up the Scizor EX. A bursting balloon on the Bronzong and a Sycamore. Oh, he even has a Sycamore. Brings himself down to 20 cards. That is what we want to see here. That is what we want to see. We don't want to see a switch though. He could find an escape rope or a switch right here and then threaten the knockout on our Porygon-Z. There's an energy with the Metalings. Does he have another energy? And there's another energy. He does have another energy in hand. Will we see the switch? Magnetic Warp is going to switch the Scizor EX with for the Metagross and a Gale Thrust for a near knockout. It's not enough though. It is not enough. 110 damage. We are going to perform our ancient tactic of discarding the energies. Our ancient ritual of discarding energies attached to the Scizor. My opponent can Magnetic Warp in the next turn, but still needs to switch if he wants to switch back into his Scizor EX. Yes, there's discarded energy. And I could actually just Lysandre the Bronzong maybe. Maybe not. We are going to start using our Trick Shovel and we are going to Hex Maniac. That is going to be our plan. Let's put this bursting balloon on our Porygon-Z. Then let's Milotic for the Hex Maniac and Milotic for a Trick Shovel. And that should buy us enough time to take out my opponents. We don't necessarily need the Team Rocket's handiwork anymore because my opponent is very close to our deck count. So the Trick Shovel will do to take out my opponents. Yes, let's play our Hex Maniac first of all so we don't forget. And then let's Trick Shovel. Trick Shovel, take a look at my opponent's deck. What do we see? A Sycamore. Alright, let's discard that Sycamore. And then let's not forget to digital reboot. I nearly forgot. I was going to press done there. That would have left myself in a pretty bad spot, to be honest. So now my opponent cannot use the Magnetic Warp, cannot use the Metalings, and cannot use anything like a Shaman or anything that uses abilities. What my opponent could do is my opponent could Hex Maniac us, and that would be pretty bad for us. If we see a Hex Maniac from our opponent himself, because then we cannot use our Milotics and we need to rely on our Team Flag Grunts to deal with my opponent's energies then. An energy on the Scizor. Will we maybe see an N? We haven't seen a single N yet. An N could disrupt our strategy here as well, because that would shuffle back all of our Pokemon in our deck and we see a Turno. And that is not an N, we see a Turno. And right now my opponent is down to 15 cards, so he is going to deck out before we do. Grabs 2 energies with the Professor's Letter. 2 more energies. How many energies does he play? 8 energies in the discard pile. I guess he plays maybe 12 energies or so. And there's another Scizor. There is another Scizor. Steel Wing for 20 damage for the knockouts on our Porygon-Z. We will promote the Porygon. We are going to find ourselves another Porygon-Z. So he's taking 3 prizes. He's getting there with the knockouts here. He's definitely getting there. Team Rocket's handiwork. Well, first of all, let's evolve. Find our Porygon-Z. There it is. Alright. Then we are going to attach our energy. Pardon me. We are going to attach our energy. We are going to grab ourselves a Hex Maniac with the other Milotic. And we are going to discard the energy with our Crawdaunt. All we need to do from now on is Hex Maniac. It is going to take my opponents a long time before he knocks out our Porygon-Z. 7 turns actually, to be honest. Or to be precise. Not to be honest, to be precise. And we will discard the energy from the Scizor before we pass our turn. Oh, I Hex Maniac'd too soon. I Hex Maniac'd too soon. I cannot believe I just did that. I Hex Maniac'd too soon. That was a misplay for me. I used my Hex Maniac way too soon. So now my opponent is going to attach 2 energies and hit us for 50 damage actually. I just made life difficult for myself. I just made life difficult for myself. That is for sure there. I was not thinking there for a moment. Alright, alright. As long as we stay alive, I will be happy. As long as we stay alive. We might just have to use our Milotics now to find another Porygon. Oh, we see a Jirachi as well. We see a Jirachi as well. Is my opponent going to attach to the Scissor, or is he going to attach to the Jirachi maybe? No, attaches to the Scissor, keeps attaching to the active Pokemon. And there's a Mega Scissor, so we will get hit for 120 damage. And near knockout. At the very least, we won't see any more Steel Wing attacks. So that should buy us some time as well. We get another energy. Okay, so let's do things in order now. Let's first discard the energies. I should have done that last turn as well. Discard the energies first. Let's discard both energies attached to the Mega Scissor. Then we are going to Milotic for one Porygon, and we are going to Milotic for the Hex Maniac. Alright, yes, that is the plan. That is what we need to do. I think there's no real other good option for us at the moment. As soon as my opponent is down to like 4 cards maybe, we could try to use Team Rocket's handiwork. So where is our Hex Maniac? There is our Hex Maniac. Alright, let's Hex Maniac, and then let's use our digital reboot one more time. Hopefully we can use it again in the next turn. But I'm kinda afraid that my opponent will find a switch to switch into maybe the other Scissor. I'm kinda afraid that's going to happen there. I wish I had another Milotic though. If only we had one more Milotic, we could have been using our Trick Shovel. But we haven't had the chance to find another Feebas or our Skyfield. No Skyfield for us yet. Oh, well, we are safe for a moment again. Switch, nope, never mind. There is the Scissor and an energy on the Scissor. We were not safe for long, and a Max Potion is going to heal up the Mega Scissor. I'm not sure why my opponent is using his cards. He should be keeping his resources in hand. 20 damage. This is going to be a close game here, and that was purely because of my mistake. That was purely my mistake. We have to... Oh my goodness, we will have to find a Rare Candy and the Porygon, so we cannot Hex Maniac in the following turn. We can actually not Hex Maniac. Let's promote our Porygon. Yeah, this is going to be very close. We get another energy. Let's first of all discard the energy from my opponent's Scissor. Alright. Then let's see here. How many energies are in the discard pile? 11 energies. We have to find ourselves a Rare Candy and the Porygon-Z. It has to be done right now. So my opponent gets a turn of Metalings. Does he have another energy though? Because the Metalings by itself won't cut it. He needs another energy to do serious amounts of damage to us. 50 damage I believe with the Gale Thrust. Yes. And then it's time to devolve once again. Oh, we can actually use our Team Rockets anywhere because we did not use our Hex Maniac, so let's do that. Let's make sure we use our Team Rockets handiwork while we can. Tails and heads. Alright, we discard a Muscle Band. That is good. That is definitely good. Didn't want to see the Muscle Band and didn't want to see the Team Fly Grunt either. Even though we have an energy here, we are running out of energies. We are definitely running out of energies. 9 cards to go. We are nearly there. We are nearly there. Yes, yes, yes. It is hopefully going to work here. Hopefully going to work. We are going to take the win against a Metal deck. And that by itself is a huge accomplishment with this Porygon-Z deck. A huge accomplishment indeed. Metalings from opponents. I've got a feeling he has another energy in hand. There's the energy on the Mega Scissor. Does he have a shield energy as well? Magnetic Warp. Alright. Magnetic Warp into the Mega Scissor. And we will see the attachment then, I think. A Lysandre is going to Lysandre our Feebas. Why did he... Oh, and there's the... Oh, right. He's going to knock out our Feebas. He is going to knock out our Feebas Iron Crusher for the knockouts. For 120, now he's down to 1 card, 1 prize. This is going to be very close. We will discard both energies again, and we are going to get back our Hex Maniac with our Feebas, with our Milotic there. Let's first of all use our Crawdaunts. Discard an energy. And we should be safe for now for a while. We should definitely be safe for now for a while. I might actually just battle compress, so I increase my chances of finding my last Feebas if it is in the deck. If it is in the deck. So let's battle compress. Yes, it is in the deck. It is in the deck. And we even have a Super Rod there. Let's discard our Skyfields. And our Lysandre. No need for the Lysandre at the moment. Alright, let's go with that. We bring ourselves down to 10 cards. That's okay. Then let's evolve into our Milotic. And let's grab our Hex Maniac again. This time we are not going to break our lock. We are going to keep the lock going. No silly moves here. No silly moves this time around. So digital reboot. Digital reboot. Devolution our Milotic. Devolve our Milotic, not devolution. And devolve our Crawdauns. It's getting very repetitive. I know it is getting very repetitive, but it is worth it. If you can take a win with this deck, my goodness, you feel so accomplished. It is so nice to take a win with this deck, and especially against a bad matchup like metal decks. 7 more cards to go, 7 more turns to go. Does my opponent have what it takes? Or does my opponent has what it takes? No, does he have what it takes? Yes, does he have what it takes? 12 energies in a discard pile. There's a Pokemon fan club. 12 energies is going to thin out his deck even more, maybe. Yeah. If he does grab a Pokemon, he is going to thin out his deck even more. Maybe he's going to grab another Bronzor, so he can evolve into another Bronzong. Are there any Bronzors in the discard pile? There are not. We haven't seen a single VS Seeker though. Does my opponent even play VS Seekers? I wonder. And he did not grab anything with the Pokemon fan club, which makes me wonder why he used it in the first place. I have no idea. I have no idea. Okay, so we will just see a pass of the turn. I think we will just see a pass of the turn. Oh no, starts powering up the Metagross. Starts powering up the Metagross. Does that mean he has another switch somewhere? This Metagross needs a ton of energy though, 4 energies. And here we get an Ultra Ball, fantastic. Let's discard this Xerosic, let's discard the Lysandre, no need for those cards. We are going to grab ourselves another Feebas. It is about time here that we find our 4th Feebas, I think. Yes, it's the 4th Feebas. And then let's evolve into our Milotic and let's grab a Hex Maniac. Pause the turn. No, devolve and then pause the turn. There's our Hex Maniac. And then we are going to devolve the Milotic. We don't need to evolve into our Crawdauns, so we are not going to do that. It's only more work for us, because then we need to devolve them again. We are down to 8 minutes and 27 seconds. My opponent is down to 16 minutes and 3 seconds. Hopefully we don't time out before we deck out my opponent. I could see that happen actually. I could see us timing out. And a pass of the turn. Alright. Alright, now we're talking. Now we are talking. Now we can start using our Trick Shovel. Finally we can do that. So let's grab our Hex Maniac and then let's grab our Trick Shovel. Where are you, Trick Shovel? There's the Trick Shovel. Trick Shovel 4. What can we discard? Yes, we will look at my opponent's deck. There's no need to look at our own deck. A Pokemon Center Lady. Alright, let's discard a Pokemon Center Lady. Then we are just going to... Oh no, we need to Hex Maniac and then we are going to devolve. Alright, nearly forgot it again. It is so easy to forget to use your Hex Maniac or to even devolve your Pokemon. Sometimes during testing I just passed my turn, forgot to devolve my Pokemon. Because it is not a very a deck with a lot of action, so It is easy to forget some things and fall asleep behind your computer here while you try to deck out your opponent. 4 more cards to go, 4 more cards to go. Does he have any more energies? What did he do? I didn't see. I've got no idea what happened there. Oh, he benched, he played down a Reverse Valley. Alright, played down a Reverse Valley. I'm fine with that. We don't mind the Reverse Valley one bit. And then we'll see just another pass of the turn. Yet another pass of the turn. I feel bad for my opponent. Honestly, I feel so bad for him. He's like down to 1 prize. He's nearly got this game, but he's not going to be able to get it, I think. He's just a little bit short here. Just a little bit short on resources. And an AZ. Ooh, AZ's up. The Scissor promotes the Scissor. So AZ's up the Mega Scissor and promotes the Scissor. And evolves into the Mega Scissor again. I don't know why that happened there. I thought he was going to attach an energy, honestly. And we get another Milotic. Alright, let's evolve. Let's grab ourselves a Feebas. We are not going to grab the... We are not going to grab... What are we not going to grab? We are not going to grab the Trick Shovel because in the next turn we can actually evolve into 3 Feebas and then we can Trick Shovel twice. And that should speed up the deck out a little bit. Where's our Hex Maniac? Alright, there's Hex Maniac. Let's Hex Maniac, and then let's devolve our Milotic and our other Milotic. And in the next turn, I think we are going to use our Team Rocket's Handiwork as well. Because we are going to discard 2 cards, and then all we need to do is flip 1 heads. And that will be it. That will be it. My opponent will have decked out. If you flip 2 tails, it could be honestly a little bit nasty because my opponent could some Metal Links, but I don't think he's got enough energies anymore, so I'm going to risk it here. I'm going to evolve into my Milotic again. And now grab my Trick Shovel, if you can find it. Where's our Trick Shovel? It's at the end of our deck. Of course it's at the end of the deck. It's never at the beginning. It's never easy to grab, is it? And then let's take a look at my opponent's deck. Beldum, no need for that Beldum for my opponent. So let's get rid of it for my opponent. Then let's Trick Shovel again. Move to the end of our deck. Grab that Trick Shovel. Hopefully discard something like a switch or so that we don't see a surprise switch if we fail our Team Rocket's Handiwork. Oh, a Mega Scissor. Another Mega Scissor. And then it's time to take this game. We are going to decide the game on a coin flip. I think that is very, how do you say it? Very characteristic of this deck, and it is a tails. It is a tails. Are you freaking kidding me? It is twice tails. Tails twice. Well then indeed. Let's devolve and let's see what's going to happen on my opponent's turn. He can use his abilities now. This is going to be an interesting last turn. He cannot one-hit KO us with the Mega Scissor or the Scissor. He can only one-hit KO us with the Metagross, I think. Yes, but he needs 4 energies to do that. So he can Metal Links 1 energy and then attach a DCE, and that could allow him to take the game here. That could allow him to take the game. Can he do it? Can he take this game? We gave our opponent a chance in this final turn. And he does use the Metal Links, alright. He does use the Metal Links onto the Metagross. Do we see anything else? Magnetic Warp. Oh my goodness, I'm afraid now. I'm actually afraid. I am afraid. And a DCE! I cannot believe it! He had the DCE! He is going to take this game! Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I deserve that. I deserve that. And that is why Team Rocket's Handiwork can be a card that lets you down quite a bit. Because if you flip twice tails, or tails twice, then things like this can happen. Your opponent can suddenly take the game. I cannot believe that happens. I just wanted to have some fun there in my last turn, and I got destroyed there at the end. Well, we nearly took the win. Alright, let's find ourselves another opponent. Superman C is going to be our opponent with the colors a Lightning, a Psychic, and a Grass deck. This is Night March Vesperqueen, I'm going to call it. Can we do anything against this deck? Our only win condition against Night March Vesperqueen is to discard their energies, and to discard their puzzles. That's what we need to do here. So we are going to focus on energy disruption. We are going to focus on getting out our Corphish and evolve into our Crawdaunts. Make sure we can discard the energies from my opponent's from my opponent's Pokemon. Well, let's see. We are going to start off with the Feebas. I want to preserve my Porygon if I can. Luckily, we already get a Crawdaunt. That is fantastic. We do start off second, which is a bummer. I'm not gonna lie, that is a really big bummer. I don't know why my opponent chose to go first. Typically, Night March wants to go second, so I'm not sure why my opponent decided to go first. And there it is, Night March and Unknown. Alright, Combi. If my opponent attaches a DCE in his first turn, I will be so happy because we get a chance to discard a DCE with a Hammer or with a Xerosic even. If we turn back a Xerosic, that would be fantastic. And a Sycamore from my opponents. Alright. Sycamore is away, a ton of cards. Viaseeker, Lampent, no puzzles though. Didn't discard any puzzles. At least the Viaseeker got discarded, at least that's something. A farewell letter from the Unknown. For now, the Pumpko is hitting for 20 damage only, so that's not even a knockout on our Feebas. With a Fighting Fury Belt, it would be, and that would be hilarious. Just a Night March for 30 for a knockout. That let's hope that does not happen. If I get knocked out, I want to get knocked out for like 1000 damage or more. And a pass of the turn, are you kidding me? Well, alright, let's see. We don't actually want to end. We don't actually want to end here. But I'm afraid we might have to. Here. I'm going to discard the Lysandre and the Porygon-Z. Unfortunately, the N is not a Sycamore. We wanted that to be a Sycamore. We are going to grab ourselves another Corphish. We have 3 Crawdaunt in deck, and then we are going to start drawing through our deck, trying to find our Porygon-Z here. A Porygon, a Crawdaunt, fantastic. We even get the Porygon2. I'm going to bench the Porygon. Make sure we have a backup Porygon, and we are going to end our turn. This Feebas is going to go down, but at the very least we bought ourselves a turn. I cannot believe that we didn't get knocked out in our first turn. We will most likely get knocked out right here, but that's okay, because we should be able to stall with this other Porygon while we try to find our Porygon-Z, or try to get out our Porygon-Z. We can Sycamore in the next turn. We can definitely do that. And we can discard a DCE attached to my opponent's Pumpkaboo. Pardon me. Yes, alright. If we see a DC at all, and there is a Battle Compressor, is going to discard some more Lampens. Please use a DCE and please attach it to the active Pokemon. That's all we want. That's all we want here. Discards Pumpkaboo and 2 Lampens. So 1 Lampen seems to be prized. We don't really care about that. Trainer's Mail for a Sycamore. Alright, please use the Sycamore. Please use the Sycamore, and please use lots of Shamans to draw through your deck. And that's all we want to see here. That is all we want to see. But if he's smart, he won't use the Sycamore and just attach a DCE. Go for the knockout on our Feebas, because he doesn't really need to discard any more Night Marches at the moment. We could knock out Night Marches with our Porygon-Z. If we hit for 50, we can knock out a Mew or a Joltik. There's a puzzle of time. It's going to use 2 puzzles maybe, I guess, before he uses the Sycamore. I guess that's why my opponent is not using the Sycamore immediately, because he has puzzles in his hands. We see the 1 puzzle, but it could be 2 puzzles that my opponent is playing. He could get back Battle Compressor and the Viaseeker. No, Viaseeker is useless. Trainer's Mail, I guess. Could get back to Trainer's Mail. Grabs the Battle Compressor and the Unknown. Alright, that's good. We will see another Battle Compressor and 2 puzzles in the discard pile. So he's left with only 2 more puzzles, which is fantastic. Which means he can only attach 6 DCEs. 6 DCEs. That's all we will ever see here. If we are lucky, he might actually have to discard another puzzle, and then he can only attach 4 DCEs, which should give us a very good chance at taking this game. There he discards some more Night Marchers and a Pumpkaboo. An Ultra Ball is going to grab the Shaman. Yes, alright. This is good. This is good. This is what I want to see. There's a DCE and a Shaman for 5 more cards. Let's hope some DCEs are prized so that my opponent is forced to use more Sycamores to find his next DCEs. A Combi. Alright, or we might actually just promote Lysandre, maybe a Shaman, and then force my opponent to attach a DCE to a Shaman or something. That could be something we could try to do. There's a Joltik. There is the Joltik. And the Sycamore is bringing himself down to 18 cards. Discards a VS Seeker. Not a puzzle. Yes, there's a puzzle. There's a puzzle in the discard pile. Only 4 DCE from our opponents. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. We have a very good shot at taking this game. All we need to do is get 2 Crawdaunt in play. And then devolve them once. And then get 2 more Crawdaunt in play. That's all we need to do. So let's hope we don't see any Lysandres on our Corphish. We'll evolve into Crawdaunt, discard that DCE. First DCE goes down from this Night March deck. Oh my goodness. And then we'll evolve into our Porygon. We will attach, do we attach another energy? Maybe not. I'm going to spread out my energies here. So my opponent does not Lysandre the Porygon2 on the bench per se. Because then we have this other Porygon ready to go. And we get a Rare Candy and another Crawdaunt. Alright, we even get an Enhanced Hammer. And a Lysandre, Ultra Ball. I'm going to grab another Corphish. I'm going to discard the... Maybe not. We are left without a hand though. Let's discard the Escape Rope and let's discard... the Rare Candy. We are going to grab a Porygon-Z here. Oh, I was scared there. I thought we didn't have another Porygon-Z. Oh my goodness, I was scared. Alright, we do have the Porygon-Z, and then we will... do we data check? Might as well. In the next turn, we will first use our hammer, try to discard the energy with our hammer. If that fails, we will evolve into our Crawdaunt. And then we are going to Brigette for another Corphish and a Feebas. There's an unknown from our opponent, a Trainer's Mail. Does he have a DCE in hand? Trainer's Mail for maybe another Battle Compressor. Has he used all of his Battle Compressors? No, only one Battle Compressor. He's got plenty more. Battle Compressors. I'm pretty sure if we would play again against my opponents, he would not discard or dig through his deck as much. If we would play again against this this opponent here. And there's an N. We might get End, which is a bummer. That is definitely a bummer. Do we have an Ultra Ball left? I think we have one more Ultra Ball left to find our Porygon-Z, but that's not a very good chance. That is not a very good chance. Well. Will we see the N? I keep my fingers crossed that we do not, because this is a fantastic hand to discard my opponent's energies. But if we get ends, we might find ourselves a Sycamore maybe. We have 2 draw supporters in the discard pile. We have 4 more draw supporters in the deck. Discards a Xerosic, a Combi, and something else. So he's down to 13 cards. And the N, there is the N. Let's go for the N. Maybe I should not have used my Ultra Ball in the last turn. I think I should not. I was going to grab a Feebas, but then I changed my mind, so I had to grab that Porygon-Z there. We do get the Xerosic and the Crushing Hammer, which is fantastic. So we will use our Crushing Hammer. We'll also Sycamore, I think. Discards an unknown. Does not seem to have the DCE at the moment. Which might buy us a turn, honestly. That might buy us a turn. Which means I'm going to Brigette for a Feebas and a Corphish. And then we can evolve into our Milotic and grab our Porygon-Z. There's another Battle Compressor. He is going to Battle Compress again. Thinning out his deck even more. We might actually get the deck out. If we get our Team Rocket's handiwork, we could deck out my opponent here. He's doing all the work for us. What is he going to Battle Compress? Maybe the last puzzle. Lol, 3 DCE prize. GG. Oh my goodness. GG. Well, it didn't matter. Even if the DCE were not prized. I am fairly confident we would have taken this game against Night March. So Night March is actually not a bad match. It's not a good one, but it's definitely not a bad one. If you can get your Corphish going and if you can find your Team Flag Grunts and your hammers in time, then Night March can be a fantastic matchup for us. Also, if your opponent discards some resources, if he does not, if he keeps his puzzles, then it's definitely a tricky match. Let's take a look at the stats. We dealt no damage. Pumpkaboo did deal some damage, 140 damage from the Pumpkaboo, and my opponent drew 44 cards. Alright, let's find ourselves another opponent. We are up against Oompa Loompa with a colorless Metal, Water and a Psychic deck. Alright, let's see if we can take this win against what looks to be Aqua Box. We won the coin flip. Alright, let's go first. Let's definitely go first here. The annoying thing about Aqua Box is that it can item lock you, and alright.
Karp, 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 Karp.